What's up guys, welcome to Monchkinz Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Monchkinz logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. And welcome back to another Should You Pull video, where I give you my opinions for upcoming banners coming to Dissidia Opera Omnia. In this video we are going to be taking a look at Exdeath'S event banner, which obviously includes his EX, alongside with Gilgamesh's EX weapon as well. Of course you can get their 15 and 35 CP, and the third wheel for this one is going to be Warrior of Light, where you can get his 15 and 35 CP weapon. Now before we do start, I'd just like to remind you guys to like and subscribe if you haven't already. It does really help my channel to grow, guys, and I really do appreciate all the support that you give me. Now without further ado, let's start this video. Now we'll start this video off with a returning EX weapon, and that's for Gilgamesh, called Wind Slash. This will give him the EX ability called Hurricane, which is a 3-hit melee brave plus HP attack. This also grants him 1 stack of Big Man on the Bridge for 3 turns, which has a max of 5 stacks. This also delays the target by 1 turn, and while he has the Big Man on the Bridge buff, which has 5 stacks, he will have access to a variant of his Brave attack and HP attack called Katetsu and Genji Blade. Now Big Man on the Bridge raises his own attack and lowers the enemy's attack as well. This has a normal recast speed, and at 1 out of 3 this raises the brave damage dealt. At 2 out of 3 this grants him 3 stacks instead of 1 of the Big Man on the Bridge, and at 3 out of 3 this raises its recast speed. And of course, if you do decide to realize this weapon, at 0 out of 3 the brave hits will become AoE now, and the stolen brave can overflow up to 150% of his max brave, and he will recover 1 use of his Mad Dance ability, and this can only go up to the initial value though. At 1 out of 3 this will moderately raise his attack and his max brave. And at 2 out of 3, when using Hurricane, this will now extend the duration of Big Man on the Bridge by 2 turns, and will grant him Gilgamesh of Honor buff for 5 turns. Also, when the quest starts, he will have access to a max brave buff, an attack up, and 4 stacks of Big Man on the Bridge for 6 turns. This will also turn his Brave attack and HP attack to the variant that I mentioned earlier, Katetsu and Genji Blade. Gilgamesh of Honor has the following effects. This will raise his initial brave and raising his max brave overflow limit of stolen braves. This will also have a brave regen effect as well. And finally, at 3 out of 3, when using his Hurricane ability, this will increase the damage dealt to a single target, increasing its brave hit count, increasing its brave potency, increasing its max brave overflow limit, and will do a 50% splash damage to non-targets as well. The bonus sphere you're getting for this one is Break Attack Boost Up Short. When breaking a target, this will raise his attack, or anyone who has this sphere, and max brave by 10% for 3 turns. Alright guys, so after hearing all this information regarding Gilgamesh's EX Plus, how much should you be investing on Gilgamesh in terms of your ingots on him? So, in my honest opinion, if you are a big fan of Gilgamesh and you actually want to use him, you really have to start this off at 2 out of 3. The main reason for this is where Gilgamesh gets an extension of the duration for his Big Man on the Big Bridge. So this is a very important buff for Gilgamesh, because once you hit 5 stacks of this, you will have access to Wild Dance permanently, as long as you have Big Man on the Big Bridge buff up. And the biggest problem that Gilgamesh actually had previously was he didn't have any way for him to extend the duration of this buff. And basically he has a way for him to increase the stack, but not any way to increase the duration. So think of it as if you have a Golbez, he actually increases the stacks, but he has to use his EX ability to actually extend the duration of that particular stacks, and that's how you get access to his plus variant for his weapon. Sorry, his abilities I should say, not his weapon. So This is also where he gets a new buff as well, which is kind of nice. You get a little bit of Brave Regen, increase initial Brave, and you get more overflow limit as well in terms of all his abilities basically. And you get access to, of course, a lot of buffs at the start of the quest. Now, if we are talking about maxing Gilgamesh, I don't know whether it's really worth going 3 out of 3 for Gilgamesh. Now, I'm gonna go into the meta mode on maxing out on Gilgamesh. I just don't think it's well worth your ingots of, you know, investing all the way to 3 out of 3 for Gilgamesh. He does improve on the amount of brave hits, which is kind of nice with in conjunction with that animation. As you guys well probably know, that it doesn't really look like he's hitting a lot, and he doesn't. And you need to go 3 out of 3 in order to see like what the animation does and like, you know, what realistically should be happening. But in all honesty, going 3 out of 3 for Gilgamesh is not completely necessary. The only real addition here is the 50% splash damage to non-targets. Of course, the brave hit count is nice. The increase of the overflow limit is okay, but I just don't think it's well worth putting your ingots all the way to 3 out of 3. Now, as you guys know, I'm one of those guys, when you 2 out of 3 someone, you might as well go 3 out of 3. But in this case, I gotta say, it's hard for me to really say go 3 out of 3 for Gilgamesh on this particular weapon or this EX plus. Okay, now let's talk about the closest comparison that I can make for Gilgamesh. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Golbez is probably one of the closest one. They're both pretty much just like DPS altogether, minus the Imperial, of course, for Gilgamesh. He does have a melee resist down debuff with his kit, but it only lasts for 1 turn, so it's not really anything special. He can also inflict paralysis as well. Not a lot of people actually know that, but he can. The other one here I put is Ace, because he's kind of like a staple DPS. It's just plain DPS, that's it. And he has that splash damage on the second ability. Obviously you need to have the plus variant, and they both have, or all 3 of them have, a stacking mechanic that they need in order for you to access a much better version of their abilities. And I guess, you know, this is the closest comparison I can make. Now, you can argue that Ace is a magic DPS, I know that, but in terms of just how their abilities work, overall, it's very, very similar, because Gilgamesh is, to be completely honest, a very generic DPS character, and unfortunately he is suffering from that stacking mechanic thing, but I think with his EX plus it sort of resolves this a little bit. Now obviously his EX recharge time is normal and will have an increase of 1 recast speed, so it's not all too bad. You should have enough of your abilities in order for you to keep recharging Gilgamesh's EX in order for you to gain access to the extension of the duration for his big man on the bridge buff. Not only that, I mean, at 0 out of 3 he also recovers 1 usage of his Mad Dance ability, which is really nice because you really want to keep using abilities in order for you to actually keep using his EX and therefore recharging that buff. Okay guys, now I think it's time to move on to the new character that we're getting for this particular event, and it's going to be Exdeath'S, and let's take a look at his abilities with all his passives included. We'll start this off obviously with his first ability called Black Hole. This basically reduces the target's spray based on his attack and will raise his spray based on his attack once again. This is followed up with an HP attack, however this cannot break the target. This will also inflict 1 stack of Sprout of Darkness Darkness for 3 turns, and will grant him the Manifestation of Evil buff for 4 turns. Now, Sprout of Darkness deals brave damage at the start of every turn for the enemies, and Manifestation of Evil raises his max brave and his attack as well. Now, as for his level 55 crystal passive, basically this just improves what you already get with his ability. This will just add a 50% splash damage to non-targets and extending the duration for both the debuff and the buff for Exdeath'S, and he will also gain access to the plus variant for both his brave attack and HP attack. However, both his his HP attack still cannot break the target. It still basically acts the same as his abilities. This will also get him a 120% max brave overflow limit on Black Hole. And as for the 15 CP weapon that he gets, this basically just increases more of the brave that he gains, and additionally adding 1 more stack of Sprout of Darkness and also improving the Manifestation of Evil buff. Okay, so now let's move on to his second ability called Almagest. This basically will reduce all enemies' brave based on his attack instead of a single target. This is an AoE one, and he will again raise his brave based on his attack and is followed up by an AoE attack. AoE HP attack, I should say. Now the HP damage is going to be split equally, and again he cannot break any target with this ability, and the brave reduction and brave gain effects vary according to the number of afflicted Sprout of Darkness stacks. This will also inflict a curse debuff on all enemies. Now the curse debuff has the following effects. It will lower the enemy's attack, defense, and speed, and will deal HP damage at the start of every turn for those particular enemies. And however, I gotta say this cannot KO an enemy, so even though they're at the end of it, it will not kill those enemies. The good thing about this is, of course, it does target all enemies with the curse debuff. Okay, so now let's take a look at the C60 passive, which basically gives it 1 extra usage and just increase of brave gain across the board and reduction as well. And this will get a 180% max brave overflow limit, which is really nice and really high for an ability. This will also extend the duration of the curse debuff as well by 2 turns. And his 35 CP weapon again just improves everything across the board, and of course extends and improves the effect of the curse debuff. And of course, for his additional ability, he gets an attack boost up, basically increasing his max brave and attack by 2 turns. If you have the Bloomstone, you get extra 1 usage of this, and just increasing the duration as well by 2 extra turns, so making it 4 turns. Okay, now let's move on to his EX weapon and his EX ability. His EX weapon is called Animus, which grants him the Grand Cross EX ability. This reduces all enemies' brave based on his attack and raises allies' brave based on his attack as well, and further raises his own brave based on his attack. This is followed up by an AoE HP attack, which is going to be 100% HP damage dealt to all enemies, and again this cannot break any target. This will have a slow recast speed and a 1 out of 3, just improving everything across the board. This includes brave reduction and brave gain, and at 2 out of 3 when using Grand Cross. This will now inflict 1 stack of Sprout of Darkness debuff to all enemies, which has a max of 3, and will inflict the Power of Naught for 1 turn on targets afflicted with 3 stacks of the Sprout of Darkness. Now the Power of Naught is a debuff which has the following effects. They will unable to deal any HP damage. Basically, even if their brave is like maxed out, when they do the HP attack, it will go down to 0, and once their turn ends, basically it will reduce their brave to 0. So think of it as probably a slightly better version of Beatrix Platinum Forest, I guess. It will save you for those times where, you know, the brave is so high and basically just reducing the damage to 0. And at 3 out of 3, this will increase the recast speed for Grand Cross. Now let's take a look at what you get if you do realize this weapon as 0 out of 3. Basically just, again, increase across the board in terms of brave reduction and brave gain, and you get a 120% max brave overflow limit now. And at 1 out of 3, this will moderately increase Exdeath'S attack and max brave, and at 2 out of 3, this will grant him Mystic of the Tree buff for 8 turns, and when the quest starts, he will start off with the Manifestation of Evil buff and the Mystic of the Tree buff for 8 turns. And when the battle starts, he will inflict 1 stack of the Sprout of Darkness to all enemies. This will last for 6 turns, and basically Mystic of the Tree is a new buff that he gets. This will basically give him Brave and HP regen effects, which is really nice for someone like him. And at 3 out of 3, again, increase across the board in terms of brave reduction, brave gain, and max brave overflow limit. And also you get the ++ variant for both his HP attack and brave attack, while you have Manifestation of Evil and Mystic of the Tree buff up and are active. Basically, they still cannot break. It just increases, you know, the attack again, the brave gain, and all that stuff, and actually adding 1 stack of Sprout of Darkness for to the enemies, I should say. The bonus sphere that you're going to get for this one is debuff attack up. When attacking a debuff enemy, this will raise your attack by 10%. Okay guys, so after hearing all this information regarding Exdeath'S abilities, and of course his EX and his EX Plus, how much should you be investing on his EX Plus if you do decide that you like Exdeath? Now, in my honest opinion, you can really start this off a little bit lower if you really want to, but I went with 2 out of 3. And the main reason for this is obviously you get all these buffs. You get the Brave regen and HP regen with Mystic of the Tree, which he only gets at 2 out of 3 basically when you use his EX ability. So this is a nice addition to what his kit already brings, and obviously you get them at the start of the quest as well. Plus the addition of inflicting 1 stack of Sprout of Darkness to all enemies for 6 turns, and not just 1 but all of them. Now for the max, I went with 2 out of 3 still. So I have the same problem with Exdeath, the same with Gilgamesh, where 3 out of 3 doesn't really sound very enticing. Sure, he gets increase of brave reduction and brave increase all across the board, but the ++ variants for both his brave and HP attack are quite lackluster, I should say. And because with the HP attack, let's just talk about the HP attack, because I think this is the most used one. Like, not a lot of people actually use brave attack, let's just be completely honest with that. So let's go over the HP attack ++. So still has reduced the target's brave based on attack, raising his brave, so blah blah blah, that's good. You get 120% max brave overflow, which is really nice for an HP attack. However, it still can't break the target, and this only increases the Sprout of Darkness stack by 1. So this actually doesn't extend the duration of this debuff as well. It only increases it by 1 stack. Now, in my honest opinion, you probably would have 3 stacks straight away anyway, since when the battle starts you get 1 stack of Sprout of Darkness, and you probably will use your ability 1 straight away in order to get all 3 stacks across the board on multiple enemies. So chances are, by the time that debuffs go down the count, you will probably have used your ability 1 again. So this doesn't really add anything to what Exdeath already has. So, you know, it's like an addition, but you're not really adding anything to it. Now, if it actually increased the duration, now you actually have something going for him, because this way you will, you know, if there's only one target and you just want to use an HP attack, you can get away with it. But again, by that time you will probably have used your ability 1 again, and it's very hard to justify going 3 out of 3 with him. I would have liked it if it actually improved Curse instead, but Curse is actually really good already. And Sprout of Darkness, in all honesty, is very lackluster of a debuff. It is just like a sap debuff with a different name slapped on it, and I gotta be honest, it is very underwhelming. The only real great thing about having 3 stacks of that is actually so you can get the power of not debuff on the target. So yeah, other than that, it's a sap ability. That's it. Curse is obviously a much better debuff because it reduces the stats of the enemies and actually does HP damage as well. So yeah guys, I gotta say 3 out of 3 probably not, even if if you really like Exdeath's, you can go for it if you really want to, but my suggestion is if you like Exdeath's and you want to play around with him, 2 out of 3 is enough. He's not gonna make or break anything in the meta at the moment. So let's quickly go over the closest comparison, which is pretty much nothing. There's really nothing just quite like Exdeath's, because while I can compare the debuffs to maybe Sarah or the gravity based attacks with Bart's or even Ultimisia, the thing is, he doesn't break anyone. He cannot break anyone, or anything for that matter, so that makes him very unique in that department. So maybe I could slap, Ultimisia, Bart's, and Sarah in there because of all the debuffs, but even his debuffs, the Curse debuff, is very unique. He's the only one that can actually reduce HP, do HP damage with a debuff at this point in time, as far as I'm aware. It's like it acts like the Hex debuff that we just got from Beatrix's events. That's what I wanted to say. So yeah, nothing quite like him. Anyway guys, this video has been going on for quite a while, so last question is, should you pull on this banner? Now my opinion on this is a no. You can definitely skip this banner. Not any of these characters are gonna break the meta in any shape, way, or form. While Exdeath's abilities are very interesting, the thing that I hate, or I don't like, I guess, I don't like that he actually can't break anything. Why can he not break anything? I know his thing is gravity based damage, but come on, you gotta break somehow. I mean, the thing with the meta right now is pushing every enemy to the back of the turn order, and if you can't even break, that's just not on. I just don't like that he can't break at all. In terms of gravity based damage, Ultimisia is by far, I think, what I like most, just in terms of gravity based damage, because she will gravity and do and she can break as well. So, and the same thing can be said to Bart's and even Gilgamesh to a certain degree. So to me, yeah, this one's gonna be a skip. I will probably use some tickets to see if I actually get his EX. I actually don't own Gilgamesh's EX as well, so this banner to me is a double EX banner for me to grab if I get lucky. So I'll probably use tickets, but I'm not gonna use any gems on this. And yeah, that's just my opinion, guys. Obviously, if these are your favorites, I say go for it, because favorites comes first before meta. Because even though I say that they're not going to be meta changing, they're still going to be chaos viable. So that's all I have to say for that. Anyway guys, I think I'll end the video right here. Please remember to click like and subscribe if you haven't already. It does help my channel to grow, and of course helps with the YouTube algorithm as well. You can hit that bell button as well. It does notify you if there's a new video out. And again, I really do appreciate all the support you guys give me for the longest of times, and we have reached 2,000 subscribers, and I can't express my gratitude enough for you guys. So one final thing is, of course, leave a comment down below if you're gonna pull on this banner. Let me know who you want to get more. Do you want to go for the meme, which I think is going to be Gilgamesh, or do you want Exdeath's out of this banner? And of course, make sure to follow me on Twitter and on Facebook at Monchkinz Gaming. This is Monchkinz logging off, and I'll see you guys in the next level.